Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Greg, 808 Project D.
Hi, I'm Malika, it's the Hawaiian Blanca.
And my name is Daniel.
Before we begin this episode, we at WMO PODCAST would like to say thank you to the officers who fell responding to a disturbance and barricade situation because of a tenant who was going to be evicted from a rental property on Sunday in Waikiki.
Regardless of our views and disagreements with PD and the image that officers have nowadays, there are those who live up to the oath and to serve and protect and put their lives on the line.
For the respect of the Ohana, we decided that we won't mention the names or faces of the officers, but we humbly give our condolences to the Ohana and the other loved ones of the two officers who lost their lives in the line of duty.
So at this time, before we continue with the podcast, we would like to ask a moment of silence for them and pray that they rest in peace.
Mahalo for your service and the courage you wore and on your sleeve every single day. Aloha amako ya'oi. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the WMO Wednesdays podcast. As we've said, this was going to be a very serious episode today. So, as there was tragedy this past Sunday, very briefly, we're going to be talking about it. As the history of this WMO has always started off, wasn't always about ranting or useless bitching per se about things that would irritate me, but it was also to make awareness of issues, whether they were to be taken as a joke or something very serious. And like how I talked about DUIs and speeding in Hawaii, I feel like this was another serious issue that we need to make aware.
Highlight.
Not only for ourselves and our communities, but also for our loved ones, regardless if they are police officers, they are firefighters, anybody who puts their lives on the line. This is just to make awareness, and that we are doing ourselves an honor to recognize all of you in service. Yeah. So thank you guys for putting yourselves out there to protect us, for those of you who actually live up to your oath. And we're going to be talking about you guys today and just some of the statistics, really, how much this actually happens in Hawaii. So, also, I got a new guest. We have our good friend Daniel.
Hello,
he
bro.
decided to come out with us today. And, you also know Greg. So, very tragic.
Yeah.
For this past Sunday, yeah. So
I think it was really unnecessary, and I think that blew way out of proportion. Like when you think about renting in Hawaii, you don't really think about, even though you have like we call them nightmare tenants. For those of you who lease apartments and houses, we call them nightmare tenants. This guy was not a nightmare. He was a dream of hell on earth, basically. A little bit of background for those of you who are watching this podcast and don't live in Hawaii, but you probably seen the news. This guy was living rent free. There was no apparent lease that was agreed to, and he just went nuts. Stabbed the landlady. I don't remember reading in any articles that she passed, but it did say that she was stabbed.
She was heavily injured, her and another woman.
Yeah.
With the same stabbing tool that he used.
Okay, so basically stabbed, and then two officers came to respond to the stabbing incident. At which point the tenant himself barricaded himself into his apartment or the home and began shooting, essentially. I don't know how the fire broke out, but shortly after there was a fire or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So apparently he was after that he shot the second officer. They started. HPD noticed that there was smoke coming out of the house.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they're actually, like you were talking about, it was barricaded.
Yeah.
So, the reason why the fire actually got worse was because HPD was preventing firefighters from going in there due to their safety.
Yeah.
So it was. I can't remember exactly when they saw that it was safe for them to go and fight the fire.
But that was well after
But
the standoff.
it was already at the point where it was spreading so bad, like at least the surrounding houses were catching on fire. And so there's still, hopefully an investigation goes on. Yeah. And
like they said that also to the landlady's remains have yet to be discovered as well. Recovered, not discovered, excuse me. And the suspect himself has yet to be recovered.
Yeah.
So as far as this podcast concerned, and as well as everything else, sorry to get a little bit inflamed, guys, but that fucking bastard is still at large. There was no need for him to escalate it that far. Like, I can understand the barricade situation because that's your home, and it's unfamiliar. You're going to unfamiliar surroundings, and his lawyer says that he's mentally impaired or whatnot.
He has a mental illness,
but to stab somebody, then to barricade doesn't show mental illness on my part. For me personally, of course, there's something mentally deranged about it, but for him to shoot at officers knowing that they would come shows premeditation and planning, and especially if you're setting a fire to destroy property. What the fuck are you doing in that house for you to burn property down, kind of deal? But yeah, that's I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, so and you guys notice I got us some drinks, so cheers to those in service.
And always, we at the Black Mountains Podcast, drink responsibly.
So, Daniel, since you are technically my second guest, and then
soon to be series regular.
Yeah. So you actually came out like last minute today.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say about anything that we haven't covered, or anything to add on to that?
Well, I don't know if anybody knew, but serious note, like when the stabbing happened, I heard it wasn't an actual knife. It was it was like pitchfork type of
some
thing.
Some kind of garden tool or something.
Yeah, a garden tool, and he grabbed something like serious and just start stabbing. It's just like
it's like a WTF moment.
Yeah, and it's. To me, that was scary,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm just letting you know, for everybody who's also watching this one, I do go live on my Instagram. So all of you guys who are watching live, this is the pre-recorded version. So you guys have any questions, or you guys want to give your condolences or any kind of statements on here, all I ask for you is just to be respectful.
Please don't trolling.
And there were actually some statements. I had like a bunch of statements, but a lot of them, I had two that were in Spanish.
Okay.
And a lot of them were just spam stuff.
Yeah.
They just say hi or whatever.
Yeah, same.
So I have a question from Defend Aloha 21. She asked, why didn't they deal with him before the cries for help from the neighbors? They should have put him in a place safe for him and everyone else. Well, that's really hard to answer. The thing with based on the body cams of the previous interactions with him already, that was posted on the news. Can't remember which one.
I think it's KITV4 and Hawaii News now.
Yeah. So based on the previous body cam footage of him interacting with police before, he was given a lot of warnings for false claims of calling and dispatching.
Basically calling the police one too many times.
Yeah. For no apparent reason, making false claims. One of the recent ones, before he was to be evicted,
was the drug dealer.
Was he was warned about calling HPD for false claims again. And he almost got arrested that time, but he said next time they call, they were going to arrest him.
They just gave him a summons.
Yeah, so it's like what Greg said about everything being premeditated, I also believe that also as somebody who works with mentally challenged, mental illness people, this kind of stuff, it's if these things happen, it's based on impulse.
Yeah.
If you are really you have mental illness in any kind of way, you don't do these kind of things to this extreme after a few days that you last interacted with police or the landlord or whatever.
Especially if going on that caveat as well. I mean, if your landlord was nice, because reading a lot of the articles, like 4 or 5 articles from KITV, Hawaii News Now, Star Advertiser, the landlady was letting him live rent free, and that is a very big problem, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But it's a very big problem because a lot of the time when you're doing rent free, it has to be an exchange for services. So he was there maintaining the property, all of that, and that in of itself is a big problem. So if you're able to maintain the property while you're somewhat insane by your claims of a lawyer, that's some, excuse my language, bullshit. That's outright bullshit.
It's especially when there's I don't know if anybody knows this, but when it comes to owning property, when you're renting out your property to whoever, the landlord is actually the one that's always on the underhand.
Yeah, they're liable for a lot of it.
Because if there's damages, you have to pay for it. You have to live by basic rules of rent and leasing. You have to give anybody, your tenants, at least 30 days of any rent.
2 weeks to 30 days, depending on the situation.
For rent changes. And you know, with the thing that you said about she let him live there for free, it's up to the landlord. And
that's true. That's very true.
I also have some other people. It's on my live right now. They're saying that why didn't she go to the house?
Well,
with police.
Okay, so
I can
definitely answer that question.
Okay.
When it comes to actually physically evicting the tenant, especially if he's known to be violent, 2 things need to happen in order for police to be involved. One, the sheriff needs to first send what's known as a cure quit or an eviction notice. Apparently there was no cure quit, so there was no need for her to be there in the first place. Yeah. She could have easily called the sheriff's department. It's about a $50 to $100 fee to do, and then she could have them issue the papers. She could be there physically to witness it too.
Yeah.
But for her to go there herself is a gray area. It's technically not violating the tenant's rights to privacy, but at the same time, it's also violating their right for due notice, because generally it'll be done, and the sheriff's department has a nice document that says, hey, this is what it is. They give the landlord a copy, and it's already documented. Versus if it's, and I don't know if it's the same with all the landlords, but my dad made meticulous documents. Mm-hmm. So for the landlords that didn't, and I'm assuming this landlord didn't, she just said, oh, everything by word of mouth, by honor system.
Everything was by verbal contract.
So there was no enforceable lease. So she had no right to do that other than just to call the cops, to call HPD to remove it. She could even, if she wanted, you guys wanted to go to that extreme to call the cops, she could say, hey, I believe this person is trespassing. He's been trespassing, and she could paint it as if she's been threatened before by this trespasser.
Yeah.
And then boom, get him out of there, right then and there. But she didn't.
It's like,
not to spit on her grave, because she did die tragically, but she didn't do her due diligence. And that's one thing that I want to list to anybody that wants to have a rental property is do your due diligence on that. And again, I'm not going to get into it because I do have several tips for the landlords as well as some tips for the tenants. And I'm not going to go into there. I'll just put it in the link below.
Yeah. So, and then when we go into incidents like this, of course, there's a rise of crime going on in Hawaii. It's like every single day thing now.
It's almost normal.
Yeah, it's
sickening.
It's sporadic.
Yeah,
just out of nowhere, man.
It's sickening. Like we were just talking about this on the pilot episode where it's like generational discipline and generational gaps between stuff. And I think too, like there was a point where I really didn't mention, but our generation's bullshit is repeating with the next generation. And I mean, this guy was older than us, 69 years old. The suspect was 69 years old, so he was past our generation. But our shit wasn't as bad. Our shit was not as bad.
It's like some people say that it was always this bad, but it just wasn't recorded.
That's very true. That's very true.
But to a certain extent, things have not been this bad before.
And you know what's bad? When BBC, which is British Broadcasting Company, Al Jazeera, believe it or not, which is in the Middle East and parts of China, and even some parts of Japan picked up on this. So you know it's bad when we get negative press and the nation plus a few other countries outside the U.S. pick up on it. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring up something that Greg brought up a couple of days ago. That is that usually you don't hear anything in Hawaii that's on Hawaii news make it to national news.
That's very true.
So until it's something that's really severe that they actually have to call FBI to get involved, or it's just something so horrendous. So it also doesn't make us look good from the outside.
Yeah.
And you know, the best thing that I really want to go into is how do we actually try to prevent these things from happening. Mostly it's just everybody in the community doing their diligence, being as
Proactive.
as good citizens as we can towards each other.
Like the idea of malama o kaaina
Yeah.
and malama o kamaina kind of thing. Where it's like you take care of one another.
But it's also like a lot of people, like we also talked about last week, was it's quick to record, but not to take action otherwise.
That's
So that's
World
what
Star or
because we went to the
Hunger,
whole social media, the whole Instagram and Facebook algorithm. That every time you see something crazy going on, you just record it, but you don't do anything about it. Like, oh, this guy's stealing from a store, and just recording him just walking away.
I mean, that's good. That's evidence, but like, where's the backup?
But
And
there's no point if you're recording somebody doing a crime if you're not gonna attempt to stop them.
I think that's called like the there was a psychological study called, I don't know if it's called the bystanders, but it's a part of the mob mentality where if somebody doesn't do something initially, we're not going to jump in and do it. And that's, I think, where a lot of people, and I'm not going to say I'm Jimmy Justice here and jump in and save the day, because one, that's dangerous, two, that's potentially stupid and life-threatening. And when it comes down to that, I mean, if you're going to record it and immediately call the police. Like, everybody, especially our generation, we're afraid of being called a rat. Like, you're not a rat for protecting somebody else. You're like, say for example, if I see from afar and I didn't know Alika and I saw him get jacked, yeah, I'm recording it. One, messed up, yes, but two, I'm also gonna make sure he's okay, and I'm gonna call the cops. Like, and it's one of those things where we as a community need to teach that and be models for that. And I think that's what we're lacking in this day and age, is the guts to say, hey, enough is enough, we need to step up and we need to do something.
Well, it's not only just crimes, though. It's just catching anybody doing anything stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, if I see kids doing something dumb to an elderly person or other kids, I was like, bro, just, as an adult, you the adult, what they gonna do? You're gonna talk back to them, just crackle one time,
Don't leave a mark though.
Yeah. But I also wanted to talk about the statistics. So we have some statistics here about some of the not just shootings or just overall crimes that HPD get involved into. That with these two officers has made number 50 of police officers that have passed away due to fatal shootings or anything to do with whatever.
Basically, incidences with the suspect where they died in the line of duty.
Yeah. So,
and this was, majority of these were also sourced from the Hawaii News Now website, as well as a website called the Officer Down Memorial page. And the one thing that we sourced was officers who died by the hands of a suspect, or basically random person by random chance, or again, passed away by a suspect.
So, did you wanna say anything else, or should we just go right into the statistics, or you wanna read some statistics?
Well, I wanted to talk about like how our investigation is inside this crime that happened.
Yeah.
You know how.
Go ahead.
Like I had a talk with one of my coworkers the other day. I don't know, what was it, yesterday? I don't know, but we was talking about how our investigations are kind of weak against the one in the mainland. And
That's very, very true.
it is, you know, it's like, why does it take so long to figure out like where, you know, like who did it or where they are, and then, you know, looking for them. While not statistically, but like how in
Looking
the
at
mainland,
comparison.
comparison, they find them real quick. You know, they're. So I'm not blaming our officers. It's just our detectives and
It's
everything.
the resources that they have.
You know, they're slow and they're very weak, and that kind of.
It has to do with a lot of the resources, as well as because HPD, believe it or not, of all the police forces in the state of Hawaii, they're actually the most strict when it comes to policy. Especially with the climate that it is right now, they have to be strict, and a lot of the times what they call it, holding it close to the vest. So when they hold it close to the vest, it was a term that I learned from my mom just today, where they have to, especially when one of their own dies, they have to be sure that what they're putting out, not only to the DA, and since the FBI is involved, this is now a federal matter, the USDA, the United States District Attorney, meaning basically Attorney General, they have to make sure that every little detail is buttoned up. Meaning there can't be any holes, there can't be any what they call circumstantial evidence. They have to be sure A, B, and C goes smoothly, like our intro, kind of deal. And
yeah, our intro is nothing but smooth. It's close enough, though.
Close enough, but that close enough idea is not going to cut it, especially with several $1 million of property damages. 2 people died. Two officers passed away. Especially when 2 police officers pass away, that's something that can't be looked over. Yeah. That has to be, okay, these are the facts. We're 100% sure. Let's present this to the Attorney General's office.
Mm-hmm. And even if, like we said in the beginning, is this disregarding any views and comments of how we individually
view police,
whether it's HPD or anywhere else, it's still a tragic.
It is a tragedy
because we still have to realize that a police officer is what they were. It's not who they were.
Yeah, they were a public servant.
They were still somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, somebody's loved one, husband, whatever they are. We're still human beings, so we still have to, at the end of the day, remember that everybody is human beings, even the mentally challenged ones.
They're human too.
They're humans too, so we have to treat them humanely.
Yeah.
As angry as whatever feelings.
Yeah. No matter how much contempt we have for them and all of that.
With that being said, recently there's been a GoFundMe account.
Oh, that one.
Of somebody. It was Derek Robinson or Johnson. I can't remember. It was all over.
First name Derek.
First name is Derek.
He didn't get permission.
$50,000 for a GoFundMe account to raise money with just a picture of the 2 officers. Now, it was confirmed that it was a scam. The families of the 2 officers themselves already stated that they were not affiliated with this GoFundMe account, with the person running it. No such thing.
Yeah, the thing too with that is, like, how you going immediately after, like several hours after?
It's not even a week. Like it was barely a day.
Like, let the families mourn. Like, I can understand I'm gonna be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. I can understand the intent, but at least ask the fucking family.
No, I know the intent was to make money off of another cause for somebody else's grief.
Okay, if you put it that way, then fuck it. Fuck that bastard.
Because if it really was, what the hell are you gonna do with $50,000? It's not for funeral services, I tell you that.
Yeah, funeral services, believe me, cost a lot more than $50,000, and we're talking basic funeral services. But I think too, HPD does have like a slush fund for that as well. I don't know anybody who's a cop, anybody that's watching related to a cop. Can you confirm it? Also confirm in the comments below. But I think too, just to have that being put out there, I mean, wow.
Well,
That's all I can say is wow.
it was. It doesn't matter. It's because as soon as the family said that they weren't affiliated with that person, it's already like
It's considered a scam already.
I don't care. If, I had good intentions. Like, what you was gonna do?
Well,
if you had good intentions, you would have done the right. You would have done every right thing.
As the saying goes, the path to hell is always paved with good intention.
Yeah. Well, you didn't do the right thing. That's what the bottom line is.
Yeah.
So, some other things that actually was related to that, but not really. That
There was a post.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get into that because we're not. We're focusing on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Entirely. Aotearoa is saying that they should arrest that guy and let the police in the penitentiary take care of it. They'll throw that guy in a supply closet and handle it. Well,
But then that opens up a whole nother can of worms that Hawaii doesn't need. And I do appreciate that sentiment too. Is like they should deal with that person in a medieval fashion. But I think because of what's going on and the climate, especially with police and civilians, I mean, doing that, and if that shit gets out, our justice system, as make as it is, going even more make. It's going to die even more.
What? So you're saying to be dead?
Overkill, basically.
I guess so. But
if there was a term for butchering a body, that would be it.
It's like, I know we mentioned some
and again,
statistics.
sorry for the levity.
So this is actually the second time in history.
17 years since that happened.
The last shooting that actually took an officer's life.
Two officers.
This was actually back in 2003 with Officer Glenn Alvin Gaspar. He confronted the attempted murder suspect, physically wrestled him to the ground in an effort to stop the suspect from firing a gun. Gaspar was fatally shot in the scuffle.
And then we have another one nearly 10 years ago, basically now 12. 2018, Officer Bronson Kaloa from the Big Island or Hawaii Island. Hawaii Island police was shot by suspect Justin Waikiki. And that one was tragic in and of itself. And even more so because this officer was one of those officers that actually had ties within, not to the community only, but within the community. He was a community activist and all of that. And I remember seeing that on the news, and it was really, really tragic. And then we also have, basically, piggybacking off what Alika said, the last time 2 officers were killed in the line of duty was on December 16, 1963, where Officers Morales and Mahiko were basically responding to a burglary or on a burglary stakeout on the intersection of Cook and, I'm gonna butcher this, sorry bro, Kauaiho Street. Is that it? Probably it's on, yeah. And they confronted the suspect, responded, and they were ambushed by multiple suspects at one time. Kauaiho. Forgive me. I lived here all my life, but
Honolulu, not Honolulu.
yeah.
It's okay, brother.
Sorry for the levity, but
Wahiawa.
okay. Yeah, back to seriousness. And yeah, and I mean, this type of incidents, I mean, there's no words to express, kind of thing. Like, why suspects do what they do, and if you watch the recent post that I had for the IGTV segment, I asked for the psychology behind it. Like, not what goes through the suspect's head, but, for example, what goes through the officer's head when he receives over the phone. I don't know the code for HPD, but you hear officer in need of assistance, officer down, and then at the same time while you're rushing to there, what's going through the head. And anybody that's a cop on the live stream, Alika's live stream, and over here, please comment. And I'm not doing this to be sadistic, because I really do want to understand it, so that way, 1, I can sympathize a little bit more, and 2, I want to be able to say, hey, these officers valiantly did more than what they should. as a matter of fact, these two officers did that. And finally, the third mindset is when they get to the scene. What are they thinking? And I was talking to Daniel last night over Instagram about, like, if you knew anybody that was at the scene, and you said, like, your aunt and uncle, was there. Were you able to, like, get some information out of that? Not like information, but their take on it.
Not really. They really wanna talk about it because I guess they say
It's
they
still
were
fresh.
Yes.
No, that's understandable too. I mean, and that goes to say too, it's like people who live there. Like, I've heard gunshots before. I've been to a shooting range. I've had a gun put to my head, all of that. But that pales in comparison to actually hearing the blood curdling screams for help, hearing like the gunshots fired, the police saying, "Get out of the house! Bring your hands up!" All of that, it pales in comparison. And like, I could, in a way, somewhat imagine what the people are going through, but not to that extent. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole situation, talking about the psychology of everybody that was there at the scene. Chio Baby said in her note to me, our auntie's house was closed, or her auntie's house was closed to where it all happened, and she said the gunshots within an hour was scary. The kids, even children, were there, close by. They got the call from police to lock up and be on alert because everything was nuts as it was back on Sunday. And what she said that she could think about was, what if and I could be wrong, so Chio Baby, if you're watching, just correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think she's watching.
No, she said it was active an hour ago, but yeah. Basically, anonymous campers with guns and legal all that stuff, flashes of their lives going through, and her trying to remain calm throughout that, and for her to try to remain calm throughout that while still feeling that adrenaline rush and still feeling scared while protecting her own family and worrying about her own family is astonishing. Mm-hmm. At that. So I mean, big ups to you for being there, or actually seeing that and keeping your own calm to help everybody in your immediate area. And she also offers prayers to the officers who fell, as well as the people who lost their homes because of that. Mm. And yeah, that's ridiculous what had happened.
Yeah.
Person that watches Guacamaolos was affected by this. Wow.
Well,
I didn't expect anybody to respond after the DMs, the topic marker that I put. It's just mostly Spanish, Italian, and all of that.
Yeah. It's it's like that's why I always want to keep this open.
Yeah.
Everybody's like really like to express the freedom of speech, but with also
within reason.
At the same time, being respectful.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're gonna want a certain response, you're gonna get exactly
what you asked for.
Yeah, exactly. So it was always open for anybody to give out anything like that. And you know, ever since I started this whole thing, I never had a negative comment. Anybody saying this is stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, nothing. Maybe because it wasn't that viral before. But
and because we're not putting it on a major forum like YouTube and all of that.
That's why you just review all questions or comments. The thing that I really wanted to go into was I honestly really think that we need to just stop with these petty kind of things of assuming everybody's doing bad until they prove that they're actually doing something good.
Not guilty and proven innocent kind of deal.
I feel like we have... I would have to say that we have some of the best police officers in the whole country.
Very true.
We don't have to deal with cops.
Even though some of them high maka.
I rather have somebody who thinks they're all that than to pull me over because I'm brown skinned.
That's very true.
I cannot imagine how that is in the mainland.
No, because we're more culturally believe it or not, we're more culturally diverse. We have a more potent, or rather, we have a more prolific Asian community, Polynesian community, and communities from around the world that come. So
1 more minute, guys. So, wait, hold on, keep that up. I'm gonna restart this again. No, you can leave it.
yeah, no, I'm just double
I'm gonna
checking.
restart this again because I got like 50 seconds left. So don't share this. I'm gonna go back live. Okay. See you guys in a few seconds.
Yeah, so we can continue on. I mean, we have some of the most diverse police force. Like, believe it or not, I don't see a lot of black cops. I see a lot of Hawaiian, Samoan, very little Filipinos.
Why did you look like that in your story?
But I mean, we're blessed to have a diverse community. We're blessed to have diverse cultures and all of that.
Yeah.
To have that.
Oh, that's what I really want to bring up.
Yeah.
We have not gonna lie, we do have corruption with some officers here.
Oh yeah.
Or within the department or whatever. Even as a Kia'i, go to Mauna Kea, we're always seeing cops are arresting, harassing Kia'i up there, whatever the case is.
Not only because it's their job, but they just do it because just fuck all else.
Yeah. That's why we said, regardless of how we feel, this is actually just two people who just doing their job in the line of service. And overall, I feel like we just need to start respecting each other more. Just because you don't have to like somebody. You may get pissed off with them or whatever, but just at the end of the day,
yeah,
we gotta start respecting each other more. We gotta start helping out more. We gotta stop doing things because we know what is right, we know what is wrong. We need to start helping and being more of a stronger community. Because if we not, this kind of stuff is just gonna get worse and worse, and then
it's not gonna get any better.
Yeah, it doesn't, because just imagine, just imagine, you saw somebody do something, you never do nothing. What if later on, putting off that whole Spider-Man thing?
Yeah.
What if that person hurt somebody that you know, you love, and everything else, and you never do nothing about it? You could have before.
Yeah.
You know, every action, you know, there's always going to be a consequence, but I just feel like everybody's not doing enough now.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, just looking out for myself, whatever.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, you still could do a little bit more.
Yeah. Humans are supposed to, we're meant to be social animals, social creatures. Social media, yeah, okay, fine. You can find the best, you can get to know, like, the best people, you can have, like, the best friends on social media. But, it's the interaction that we have with our people.
Mm-hmm.
Good relationships, interpersonal, professional, whatever you want to call your relationships with people. Do it with your community, and I feel like if we all come together, then we can actually help prevent our loved ones from suffering the same kind of fate. Especially if you're an officer or you're a firefighter, you're putting your life on the line, you're always at risk.
Man, big ups to the people that choose to serve, because police officers are not just there because it's a badge and it's a paycheck. They are public figures. A lot of people don't look at them like that. They're just there because, oh, they gotta police everybody and make sure everybody follows the rules. But they're actually public figures. That's why when you see things like Ferguson or unjustified deaths by police officers, they're highlighted, and there's always gotta be a fall guy for that because they're so much in the public eye. They might not be on the news, but you see their cars driving by. You see them in the communities, in the coffee shops and all of that. And for them to pick up and the mantle to serve, whether it be even military as well, I mean, I give them big props for that, and I give them the respect regardless of the amount of contempt, and as you said, regardless of our views and our relationships of policies, corruption, and all of that.
Yeah. Anything you have to say, Daniel, about any of that?
No, not really. I don't.
Okay, so with closing statements, again, we would like to, all three of us would like to humbly give out our condolences once again to all of the loved ones who knew the two officers. If you guys want to know who, I mean, if you haven't seen,
it's on the,
their names and faces were already mentioned all over social media, but I made the decision that we don't have to do that. Everybody knows them. You can go look it up for yourselves.
If anything, well, I'll just put the links to the news articles in the
They
description.
can go find it themselves.
Okay, never mind.
They have the internet. They have the resources.
True.
If they can find this podcast, they can go find that. So, like Greg said, on behalf of the three of us, I'd like to say thank you for all of you guys who are always putting your lives on the line out there to serve and protect the public. For those of you who are actually, true blue heroes, and if you are a police officer, and this is something that actually made you want to change the way that you approach your job, or whatever the case may be, we just want to still say thank you for taking up the badge and taking up the oath in the first place. That you had the intentions to make good in your community, maybe had a bad day, whatever it is. We just, all three of us, just want to say thank you to all of you guys. I'm going to say we love each and every one of you for your loss, for we know this burden that you are having on your shoulders is very heavy. If there's anything that anybody else can do, anybody in my life, if you know anybody in the families, you knew them personally or just professionally as a fellow officer or whatever, old co-worker or whatever it is, please reach out to the families first if you're ever going to do anything to raise money, GoFundMe, whatever it is.
Get their approval first.
Don't be the person that try to make it so that they're raising money.
Get financial gain from a tragedy.
Yeah. You don't want to go off and do that kind of thing, even if you had good intentions to raise money for it. You're not doing it in the right way, and you're coming off as doing something else.
Scam artist.
So, all of that being said, in final words, I'd like to say, I'm Malika, the Hawaiian Blanca. This is Greg Chi, 808 Project D, and this is Daniel, Dan the Big Man on Instagram. You can find all of this on Instagram, IGTV, and YouTube. And I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, we'll see you next.
Hopefully, he's coming next week.
Next week, yeah. Okay. And everybody else out there, shoot aloha.